and social life, rather than on the reductionist individualist materialism. It demands personal liberty in the form of the constitutional rights and guarantees against oppression. It also demands freedom from want, ignorance, squalor, idleness, and disease, as left liberals have long realized. More than that, it demands genuine democracy so that we can be citizens and not merely consumers, and can develop our talents through self-government, office holding, and deliberation. The notion of equality is rooted in the dignity and the all too flawed reality of man, which demand that we be able to look one another in the eye as equal citizens, that none are slaves and none are masters. This requires civil and political equality, but it also demands a little limit on material inequalities, so that no one is reduced to dependency on others or to a condition which is undignified, and so that no one is so wealthy that they can lord it over others. Ambedkar treated equality as created equal. Created equal has to be seen in consonance with the critique of Darwinism and capitalism, not as mere ascriptive equality and profound equality in eventual life. The third value of fraternity is too easily forgotten by mechanistic and individualistic theories. Fraternity acknowledges that we are a social and associative creatures, that individual liberty is meaningless if we are locked into crowded solitary confinement of an atomized, depersonalized existence. In order to be fully human and to be happy, we need family, community, depersonalized existence. In order to be fully human and to be happy, we need family, community, village friends, colleagues, comrades, associate, partners, public spaces, and a good pub too. Fraternity is the necessary treatment to fellow beings in reverence, love, and being in unity with her or him. Moreover, fraternity is not a docile sermon. Ambedkar was not satisfied with the manner in which the French Revolution, the originator of this slogan, conceptualized the value trinity, which lacked in their simultaneity. He emphasized realization of all of them together and found such conception only in Buddhism. It is only then that the slogan would become a fact of life. And he said it elaborately in the Constituent Assembly speech, which actually quite well known on that January 30th. He actually warned that if the equality is not established, these people would, the victims of that, would blast off the structure of democracy. In order to actualize this freedom of this conception, he used various stratagems as the situation unfolded. To start with, the strategy was premised on certain reforms in the Hindu society which would alleviate the hardships of the untouchables. These reforms, he imagined, would be undertaken by advanced elements among the caste Hindus. The approach informed the first Different Classes Conference at Mahad in March 1927, which, while inspiring Dalits to struggle against their oppression, indicated to the caste Hindu society the impending risk. However, when the Dalits had gone to the local tank to exercise their legal right, they were badly beaten by the caste Hindus. He organized another Satyagraha conference just after 9 months with a resolve to offer Satyagraha at a time until it was open for the untouchable. But it was stalled by a fraudulent injunction obtained by some caste Hindus on the false basis that the tank was a private tank. It completely shattered Ambedkar's hope that the Hindus would ever be ready to undertake reforms as he imagined. His enthusiastic disciples persisted with a few more satyagrahas with his tacit approval, but his attention had turned to political arena, which was unfolding in an interesting manner. His political aim was to gain distinct identity for the untouchables so as to stake claim to political rights in a communal configuration, which he realized through the Roundtable Conference by winning separate electorates. Although they were lost in the Pune Pact with Gandhi, the claims stayed insofar as Dalits were recognized as a special people there since then. Eventually, he sought his true freedom in Buddhism. From the above, Ambedkar's perspective on freedom may be constructed as follows. Freedom is the inherent right of a human being. It is the basic wherewithal to realize his human potential. However, human societies informed by certain ideological systems may not be organized to naturally grant it to all. In such societies, the dominant sections usurp it for themselves and deny it to others in varying degree. They build elaborate ideological apparatus that is eventually shared by all so as to legitimize differential distribution of freedom. Freedom constitutes the basic element of political ideological structure and no more remains a passive dictum. It is a subject for active struggle for those who are denied it. The struggle for freedom encompasses smashing of the ideological apparatus and reclaiming the rights in political realm so as to catalyze the creation of new constitutional state that would safeguard the new configuration, since the societal structure was premised on the ideological system sourced from religions. Ambedkar perceived the necessity of appropriate religion, which will internally govern individuals' instincts so as to lessen the load on the state. State in his schema, therefore, is to stay guarantor for the basic freedom to all and religion to consolidate it by providing a moral fabric to the society. State. Ambedkar's perspective on the state may be summed up as an autonomous arbiter between classes. During the colonial times, he had definitely considered it as an unbiased arbiter in clash between the untouchables and the touchables. This view was precipitated during the Satyagraha conference in Mahat in December 1927, when people unequivocally opted for going to jails than giving up their Satyagraha. Ambedkar had pleaded that he would not open a second trend by antagonizing the state. He tried to use the state to establish the identity of the untouchables as separate community from Hindus. His outlook remained the same throughout it and reflected in the demand for reservation for untouchables in the state. He saw the power of the state and the power of the state managers and demanded representation in its structure for Dalits. This thinking basically underscored the entire logic behind reservation or affirmative action to be taken by the state. It is therefore that he accepted state position, firstly in the colonial regime as a member of Viceroy Executive Council and later as a member in the first all-party cabinet headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. His anxiety to get into Constituent Assembly also portrayed the same conception of the state. The role of the state as an autonomous agent was heavily premised on the Constitution, the code for the statecraft, and hence he desperately wanted to ensure the interests of the untouchables in the Constitution for the post-colonial India. Prior to getting into Constituent Assembly, he had written a tract as the memorandum to be submitted to the Constituent Assembly on behalf of his party, the Scheduled Caste Federation of India, which was later published as States and Minorities. It proposed the radical agenda of state socialism, which he desired to be incorporated into the Constitution. Luckily, he managed to enter CA, having been elected from the East Bengal with the efforts of J. N. Mandal. In the first ever speech that he made in the Constituent Assembly commenting on the objective resolution moved by Nehru, he problematized the resolution that sounded good but lacked in the crucial wherewithal, structuring the society as socialist society. He was actually voicing his thesis in the states in minority, but the expediency of politics made him add that he would not insist upon it. His thesis proposed, as most of you would know, nationalization of agricultural land by compensating the landowners with debentures, thus respecting the liberal dictates of right to property, parceling this land out to cultivators, cooperatives comprising all castes, creeds, etc. The government supplying them all implements and inputs against such predetermined production share, nationalization of insurance and compulsory insurance policies for all Indians as practical security of life, nationalization of all basic and key industries, etc. There have been many concurrent moments that contradicted his own beliefs. Although he could not incorporate all that he wanted into the Constitution, he appeared pleased with the final product, so much so that he advised his followers to shun methods of agitation and adopt the constitutional means to achieve their end. However, he soon realized that the ruling classes would reduce the Constitution easily to be inconsequential. He therefore dissolved it by saying that he was used as a hack and he did what they wanted him to do. He even termed it as useless and declared that he would burn it down. He reflected the view that the state wore the character of the people it was man when he said that they had laboriously built the temple, but before the gods could be installed there, the devils had occupied it. The same view could be discerned informing the demand for representation of the untouchable in the government employment. He thought if Dalits got into state bureaucracy, they would make the state so much congenial to Dalits, despite contrary evidence, is no evidence that he rethought his constituent. Ambedkar's perspective on the state appears disturbing in the face of the behavior of the state in relation to the lower strata of the society. The reality appears to confirm the Marxian conception of the state as the committee of the bourgeoisie or the coercive instrument in the hands of the ruling classes. To To locate Ambedkar within Fabian framework is not belittling Ambedkar's greatness in any manner. It is only to understand his thoughts and actions more up together as Fabians for this belief and not for being member of the Fabian society. But the fact remains that they are not same even in the conception of socialist transformation. But later the Fabians founded the Labour Party. Admittedly the Fabians were against Marxist method of revolution, but later they became biggest admirers of Stalinist socialism in the USSR. There were hardly anything similar in the Sydney Web, Beatrice Webb, Bertrand Russell, Tony, Cole, Harold Lasky, or American Fabians like John Dewey. How to Ambedkar, the state all over began to show up their hands against people. A crisis could not be tamed. It discarded its welfare package and became a neoliberal state that nakedly worked for the interests of global capital. It equipped itself militarily to meet any dissent in party.
His ideas on equality, brotherhood, democracy, independence, international economics, and politics are valid even in present times, and his work continues to be effective and inspiring to many. I congratulate the Department of Philosophy of Pondicherry University in general and Dr. P. Keshav Kumar in particular for taking initiative to organize a 3-day national seminar on Dr. Ambedkar's view on state and freedom. I wish that the proceedings of the 3-day seminar should be published for the benefit of young scholars. In fact, our Vice Chancellor has initiated a publication being also recently. So this is my presidential address due to positive time. I now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor Padma Shri J.A.K. Karim, who is more than a philosopher, an academician and an administrator, who was responsible to erect the Ambedkar life-size statue to share his ideas and inaugurate the seminar.